If you're jealous of me now, you will be jealous again. I can still hear you complain that you'll never draw ratings. Oh, the jealousy of the American hero at CNN continues. I am a real American. Not only does Scott Jennings have to verbally battle deacons at Woke United Methodist every night on Abby Phillips' primetime dump, a steaming turd that the American hero has quickly turned into a nicely polished turd. Not only is Scotty taking shots from deacons on the air, he's also having to deal with extreme jealousy behind the scenes. Matter of fact, CNN is starting to remind me of the WNBA. There are plenty of parallels between these two dumps. Before Scott Jennings, CNN hasn't created a star in years. Before Caitlin Clark, the WNBA thought the only visible stars were in the sky. Over the last 3 or 4 years, CNN's ratings have been circling the pooper. For the last 3 decades, the WNBA couldn't draw ratings if you handed them a pen and paper. All of a sudden, both of these huge embarrassing failures are blessed with superstars. They stumbled upon a savior, or in the case of Scott Jennings, a hero. I can be your hero, baby. How does CNN treat their hero? How does CNN treat their version of the Great White Hope? They emulate the failed strategy of the WNBA and they try to diminish his drawing power. Scott Jennings is the cable news version of Caitlin Clark. The American hero is single-handedly saving the Titanic. He is trying to turn this flea on an elephant's ass into a powerful wasp. And what are his jealous colleagues doing? They're grabbing the fly swatter and trying to kill the damn wasp. Someone please make it make sense. You know, here on the channel, we often talk about the enemies of the state in the mainstream media. But to my knowledge, I have never criticized another YouTuber. I'm not talking about those who were banned from the mainstream media and started doing YouTube to replace their lost woke welfare. I'm talking about normal, everyday people who busted their ass and built their platform on their own. To my knowledge, I have never criticized another full-time YouTuber. Why? Because we're all going through the same thing. We're all on the same team, for lack of a better word. Now, as you guys know, Uncle Casey isn't very fond of teams. I don't do we, but I do love me some me. But I don't go after colleagues. I don't want to see them fail. If channels similar to mine see a surge in viewership, that's great for me. Guess whose videos will be recommended while you're watching their video? Mine. If my channel sees a surge in viewership, helps them. That's the way it works. I want everyone in my niche to be doing well, because if they're doing well, I'm going to be doing well. So I'm struggling to understand this jealousy. I'm struggling to understand this overwhelming resentment at CNN with the American hero Scott Jennings. This network has one star. This network has one person capable of drawing an audience in the 25 to 54 demo. Scott Jennings is the reason CNN is beating MSNBC in the demo ratings. If Caitlin Collins keeps struggling, Katie Woo! Katie Woo! If the girl named Rue keeps struggling, I would not be surprised to see CNN move Scott Jennings and the panel of deacons into her time slot. Now, with CNN having one star, you would think the dozens of unknowns at the network would be utilizing the star power of Scott Jennings to boost their own careers. Instead, jealous unknowns are doing everything they can to diminish him. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel is in the description below. Today on the second channel, going to be talking about a retired NHL player getting into a fight on the golf course. Some doofus golfer was taunting him and eventually tried to fight him. Clearly, Captain Doofus had no idea who he was dealing with. NHL players, they might not be proficient in drawing ratings on television, but if there's one thing hockey players know how to do and do well, it's kick your ass. I'll show you the video, so click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. How many of you guys are familiar with Cari Swisher? But my name is Kara!
It doesn't matter what your name is!
Obviously, I'm not familiar with her. I don't even know her damn name. Although, I am familiar with Swishers. When I was in high school and college, I was a daily customer of the Swisher brand. They manufacture these brilliant cigarellos that were perfect for consuming Bob Griner's favorite herb. But I'm not familiar with Kara Swisher. Apparently, Kara hosts a popular podcast called On with Kara Swisher. She's also known for wearing sunglasses indoors. According to Kara, my eyes are very sensitive. I don't like bright lights. That might explain why she seems to be allergic to Scott Jennings. He's a rising star, and Kara seems to be allergic to stars. Outside of her doofus podcast, Cara Swisher is also a contributor at CNN. Now, I'm not entirely sure what she contributes. I know what she doesn't contribute: ratings. But even though she's incapable of drawing an audience, Kara is still a colleague of Scott Jennings. With Scott Jennings saving this dump of a network, you would think that Kara would appreciate the American hero. According to Cara Swisher, CNN allows Scott Jennings to say terrible things that undermine the credibility of the network. Undermine the what? Undermine the what? The credibility? What credibility? The C in CNN does not stand for credibility. Hell, I thought it stood for cemetery. Looking at these ratings, CNN is looking more and more like a morgue. There are no signs of life. The lack of credibility at this network has CNN on life support. Not only is Scott Jennings the only star, he's also the only person at CNN that has credibility. According to Kara Swisher, Scott Jennings should not be starring at CNN. He should be on RuPaul's Drag Race. Ooh, Scott is such a drama queen. This is the news business, and all he wants to do is argue. That's partially true. This is the news business, but last I checked, it's also show business. Keyword, show. You've got to have the ability to show me something. And most of these unknowns at CNN aren't showing me a damn thing besides the back of my eyelids. Let me show you an example of what has Cara Swisher mad. A couple of weeks ago, the American hero was doing what he does best. He was carrying CNN to the promised land. He was performing so well that people actually wanted to watch the network. On this particular night, and for reasons unknown, Cari Champion was a part of the panel. Now, outside of converting oxygen to carbon dioxide, Cari Champion is completely useless on a cable news program. You don't have to take my word for it. I'm about to show you. Last month, the Trumper helped negotiate the end of a 30-year war between Congo and Rwanda. A war that I'm sure the vast majority of people in this country don't know a damn thing about. I know of one person who damn sure didn't know about it, Cari the Champion of Failure. Once again, Cari Champion shows up to work at CNN completely unprepared. Watch for yourself.
Foreign Minister from Rwanda has told CNN, he said he's committed to supporting this ongoing negotiation, but warned that ending the conflict will depend on political will and the good faith. And he doesn't know if that is true, referring to the DRC's government. It's not done. It's not done.
You didn't watch the news yesterday. They literally announced it in the Oval Office.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is indeed a historical day because it's the signing of a peace agreement between Congo and Rwanda to end a conflict that has been going on for 30 years.
Let me ask you a question.
Literally in the Oval Office.
Can I say something?
Friday afternoon.
Cara Swisher is not the only woke welfare collector at CNN who is jealous of the success of Scott Jennings. Andy Cooper is also jealous of the American Hero's rating success. Matter of fact, Andy is so jealous that he is potentially leaving the network. I'm going home. This is not fair. I'm a serious journalist, and this American freak is getting all the attention. According to an insider at CNN, Andy Cooper is so pissed off that he could make what they called an almighty stink on his way out. I guess Andy is planning to emulate Roger Dorn from the classic Major League. I guess he's going to grab the newspaper and fan his boodle breeze on his way out of CNN. The question, though, is why? Outside of the obvious ideological differences, why are these pretend stars at CNN jealous of the real star, Scott Jennings? Like I said, it doesn't make any sense. This network has been literally drowning for years. CNN's lost $400 million in revenue in the last 3 years alone. There has been no light inside of this Bruce caboose. Now, you finally have light. You finally have a star that's capable of generating mainstream interest. So why the resentment? Why the jealousy? Why are they trying to discredit him? Maybe this is another parallel that CNN shares with the WNBA. Dump divers in the WNBA were resentful of Caitlin Clark because she was attracting a different demo to this turd of a league. This is our league. Why are all these white people here? How come men are holding hands with women? Ew, gross. When you stumble upon a successful formula, what is the most likely outcome? You repeat that process, right? You take that successful formula and you implement it throughout the rest of the network, which is bad news if you're a paid propagandist. Maybe Scott Jennings makes his colleagues at CNN nervous because they think he represents change. He represents a change of direction. Maybe they're afraid that CNN will shift their focus towards normal people and away from the rapidly dwindling audience of wanker spankers, which would mean those at CNN who appeal to the wanker spankers would no longer have a job. Give me your thoughts on this. The jealousy, the resentment of Scott Jennings is growing at CNN. First it was Andy Cooper, now it's Kara Swisher. Why are they jealous of the American hero? Could he represent change at CNN and that makes them nervous? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.